Hello, happy last week of school of 2020 here before winter break. I'm going to quickly go through this presentation. Some people have just been asking for more videos, so these are just here to help you if you need them. We've done grammar units like this in the past and try one, so remember. So on this first slide here, it kind of types it all out for you. Remember, step one, you view this presentation, and I'll link the video here, so feel free to watch as many times as you need to, or not at all. If you want to go through the presentation on your own, that's fine too. Step two, you will do the subject-verb identification practice. So you have 3 attempts on that. It's 20 points. I highly recommend taking it a second time if you don't like your first score. And then step 3, you have the subject-verb quiz. You have 1 attempt on that. That is the one where you really want to take your time and make sure you do everything correctly the first time because you only have 1 attempt. So this is all you have to do here in this last week. So no extra work except missing work. If you have any missing work, please just get caught up before winter break so you can come back and just be ready to go. But view this presentation, do the practice, and do the quiz. So let's go through the presentation here quickly. So this mini grammar unit is on subject-verb identification. So the point of this unit is to help you in identifying what the subject and the verb is in a sentence. And the reason this is important is because I have found a common problem in our essays and in our writing where we do not always write in complete sentences. We write in phrases where we are either missing the subject or the verb. So in identifying subject and verb, hopefully you can then apply this to your own writing and make sure you're writing in complete sentences because you need to have both parts. Super important skill moving forward too. You're going to write and speak and read sentences for the rest of your life. So first, a sentence has 2 parts. So every single sentence has 2 parts. Part 1 is the subject. So this tells what the sentence is about. So in this example sentence, the subject is highlighted. So the volcano erupted today. This subject is about the volcano. So that's why volcano is highlighted. The second part of a sentence is your predicate, and this contains the verb. So it tells what the subject is, or what the subject did, or what the subject is doing, right? So in that same example, the volcano erupted again. So erupted again would be our predicate, the second part of our sentence, because it includes the verb erupted. So 2 parts to every sentence. The hardest part of this unit in general, historically in the past few years, has been identifying verbs. So these next few slides are going to kind of review what a verb is, and I know that seems obvious. You learned what verbs are probably in elementary school, but it can be challenging when you have a more complex sentence, and the verb is the first thing you need to identify. So remember, a verb is used to describe an action, state, occurrence, and it forms the predicate. So it's what the subject is doing or what the subject is. There are 3 types of verbs. We have action verbs, linking verbs, and helping verbs. And I will go over each one right now with examples. So on this next slide. So an action verb is the one that we are pretty familiar with. It is what we think of when we think of a verb. Run, jump, sat, swim, accepted, jogged. It's like something you can do, an action verb. We always think of that one. Linking and helping verbs are the other 2 types, and these are often forgotten about. So linking verb is a state of being. So am, are, is, was, and were are some common ones. So I am a teacher. Am would be the verb in that sentence. It's my state of being. Helping verbs then, are verbs that are used with an action verb in order to form a verb phrase. So are running, is sleeping, was moving, were speaking. So like the students were speaking. Were speaking is the verb phrase, so it's those 2 words together. It just forms a different part of speech here. So, or not part of speech rather, but tense, verb tense. So be careful with linking and helping verbs. You can Google tons of lists of these, but these are the ones that are often forgotten. So these are kind of the steps you want to follow when you are identifying subject and verbs in a sentence. You should do this for every single sentence. You need to find the subject and the verb. So step 1, identify the verb. That's always where you're going to want to start. So identify the verb in your sentence. Step 2, ask yourself this question. Who or what plus, and then the verb. So again, step 1, identify the verb. Step 2, ask yourself who or what plus the verb, and the answer to that equation, that sentence you just said, is the subject. So here's an example. Oops. Our sentence is Los Angeles attracts people for an acting career. So step 1 would be identify the verb. So we would read our sentence, oh, attracts. That's something I can do. Attracts is my verb. Then you ask yourself that question, who or what attracts? So you look at that sentence, who or what attracts? Los Angeles attracts. So our answer would be the verb is attracts and the subject is Los Angeles. These next couple slides, the slides in green here, just provide a ton of examples. I'm just going to go over a couple of them. Take a look at these examples though, because when you're doing your practice and your quiz, a lot of the sentences were modeled after these examples. I'm not trying to trick you with this. I didn't put any super challenging sentences in this practice or the quiz. This is, again, remember, think of 9th grade as like your introduction into all these grammar units, and then in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, you'll go into them in more depth. So all of these sentences, the verbs are highlighted in blue and the subjects are in yellow. And I have kind of the steps you need to follow. So remember, identify the verb, ask yourself who or what plus the verb. You can read through these at your leisure, but they're all here for you. Some sentences, and this is important, have 2 verbs or 2 subjects. So, for example, number 1 says, Miss Smith argued for a new textbook and persuaded them to buy it. So when we do step 1 up here, identify the verb, we would find that there are 2 verbs. There are 2 things that our subject did. So argued is a verb and persuaded is a verb. And then we ask ourselves, who or what argued and persuaded? Miss Smith did. So Miss Smith would be our subject, and then argued and persuaded would be our verbs. Some sentences also, like number 3, have 2 subjects instead. So Wallace and Samantha visited their sick friend every day. So again, following our steps, step 1, what's the verb? The verb is visited. And then we ask ourselves who or what visited? Wallace and Samantha. So we have 2 subjects in this sentence. These are some sentences with special cases, so you follow the same steps, but you'll notice in these that there are verb phrases using helping verbs, which we talked about a little bit ago. So for example, number 1, when you're identifying your verb, have done is your verb phrase. And then who or what have done? I have done my homework. Number 3, The Giver, the first novel of Lois Lowry, was written about a boy named Jonas. When we're finding our verb, we would find that was and written are our verb phrase. Was is serving as a helping verb there. So was written is our verb. Then we ask ourselves who or what was written? The giver was written. It's important here, Lois Lowry was not written about a boy named Jonas. The Giver, the name of our book, is our subject. So again, I'll just go back to that first slide. You viewed this presentation. If you're still with me, you've watched this video, or maybe you viewed it on your own, then you will complete the practice. Use this presentation as a guide, like maybe have this up on your phone or split screen your iPad. But you have 3 attempts on that, and then you have 1 attempt on that quiz. Both of the following, or the previous things I just said, are due at 11:59 p.m. on Tuesday. And then you are off into winter break. After winter break, we will dig into our first point of view unit with a short story. So enjoy your winter break and let me know if you have any questions on this short grammar unit.